Recording in progress.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to on the Mike, the premier business radio program. I'm your host, Mike King. I appreciate you being here with me. So, the views expressed here are mine. I have no connection to, support of, or agreement with any of the host information ads on the station. I don't work for the station. My program just airs here on a daily basis. So, join me as our cutting edge show. We uplift the community, showcase RVA in a different way. Sounds you're listening to are coming to you from the Mike King Biz Studio, which is the global epicenter of social enterprise business. So we're coming to you today, and you can follow me on social platforms, hashtag on a mic with Mike RVA, as well as Mike King Biz. So we have Nick from RVA, is it RVA Tech Council?
RVA Tech, we just call
RVA Tech. Alrighty, so really quickly, tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah, my name is Nick Surface. I'm the CEO of the Richmond Technology Council, affectionately known as RVA Tech, and we are the trade association for the IT and tech industry in Greater Richmond. And we just try to make this a thriving, booming tech town. That's what we're here for.
This is a booming and thriving tech town.
Absolutely.
Why do you think that that's the case, and how long has it been that way?
Yeah, I think it's a few things, and I think it's been that way for a while, but it's just now getting to the surface in terms of storytelling and getting the brand out there to people beyond the Richmond borders. We've had some big technology-driven companies that have been in town for a long time. Capital One, CarMax, even some consumer products companies, Altria, Hamilton Beach, Sabra Hummus. All those companies are becoming more and more technology driven, and as that continues to evolve, and with those being headquartered here in Richmond, it just makes us continue to thrive and our community grow.
One of the things, people think of them as product companies, but they're dressed up as that, but they're IT companies, tech companies.
Everybody's a tech company these days. I mean, tech is driving the ability to scale. It's driving the ability to make your products better. It's driving the ability to make new products. And how we experience products is driven by tech, whether it's learning about them, whether it's experiencing them, whether it's just using them.
One of the things that locations always worry about is the brain drain. Mm-hmm. Richmond does not seem to have that problem. Richmond is in the attraction mode.
Absolutely. We're in attract. A lot of cities nationwide are talking about attracting and retaining talent. But yeah, I don't think we have trouble retaining once people are here. It's attracting them to the town. We're a little bit under the radar. But in some ways, I think that's a good thing. We're not the next Silicon Valley. We're not the next Austin. We're the first Richmond. And I think that's what we want to be. And once people get here, I think they realize that and they kind of settle in.
What's the part that, and some of the groups that I know of, Richmond Inno is out there, and they put the word out, they keep the message out. Let's talk about some of the hidden gems that people would need to know about if they wanted to find out what's happening in the tech world in Richmond.
Yeah, so to learn all about events and things like that and engagements, RVATech.com is a great way to start. But you're right, Richmond Inno is a great media outlet, really keeps the pulse of technology and the business side of technology, and also the startup scene. Richmond has a big innovation scene that I think isn't well known beyond our borders either. And what's interesting about that is that in a lot of cities, the innovation and startup scene is driven by college graduates or people in their kind of early parts of their career. But here in Richmond, you're seeing a lot of people from the bigger companies do really well, get established, and then identify market opportunities that they then go out on their own to pursue. So the people from Cap One or CarMax cut their teeth and then realize, hey, there's something else I have an idea for. I'm going to go out there and make it happen.
So if a person is out there, how do they go about finding the resources to help their business thrive?
Yeah, I mean, so many resources. There's your tried and true. There's the Chambers, always a great place. There's another organization called the Virginia Council of CEOs. That's a really big help to people that are leading businesses. And it depends on your size. If you're a larger or a mid-sized company, Richmond Technology Council is probably a great place to either develop your workforce or build business. If you're a smaller company, maybe a startup, a place like Startup Virginia is a great place to learn about programming and get mentorship.
How can people find you out there?
RVATech.com, super easy. We do 7 conferences a year. We have an awards gala. We have a Women in Tech Awards program. We do a golf tournament. We literally do events, multiple events a month, and not all of our events are for everyone, but we always have something for everyone.
Let's talk about the women in the tech
Yeah.
world.
Yep.
So a couple weeks ago, through Brian and Stratton, we had gone over to a gaming store, and the woman there says sometimes guys come in and they see her, and they want to flex. They want to try her street cred.
Yeah.
And I say, what happens when they realize they barked up the wrong tree?
Yeah.
She says they get the look. I'm like, do you know when you got them? She says yes. And she says then they kind of look sheepish. They don't want to look at me anymore because what used to be thought of as a male-dominated industry
Absolutely.
is not the case. There's
Nope.
places for women in tech. Shout out to Lori Jennings is
Yeah.
out there doing some
Hey,
really
Lori.
cool things. Hey, and also my good partner Ro Mead. And
What's up,
Synergy,
Ro?
when it's Synergy Technical, there's and Cyber Lexi. So Cyber Lexi Burrows comes in and she talks about tidbits and ideas to give people. So these are women in technology. There is a place for them. Let's talk about the opportunity for women in the tech world.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's more availability and equity in tech than ever before. And I want to use our upcoming event. It's our Women in Tech conference coming up to kind of showcase how things have changed. The conference used to be branded Women in Tech, or really just all about the women's community. Recently, that changed for us. It's now called our Drive Conference, presented by RVA Tech Women. And the reason we did that is we wanted to highlight a conference that's for everybody in technology, and that's technology first, regardless of what gender, race, religion, anything like that. And it's simply curated by our women's community. So it's the speakers and the content that the women in our community think is most important, but it's not necessarily for women or just about women. And I think that really speaks to a shift in our demographic in tech, that we're here not just to promote a specific community and demographic, we're here to put on the best tech content we can. And the perspective on that changes depending on your demo, but tech is for everybody.
And it is the equalizer. What would be an area that the folks on the inside like you would think is coming down the pike and it's going to change the world?
Yeah.
Is it artificial intelligence we hear a lot about that.
Yeah, I think artificial intelligence and something else called machine learning is getting built into everything, meaning that the technology we build is getting smarter and smarter over time each time it's used. It's taking data from us and it's learning from that data. And so, yeah, that's going to continue to increase, and who knows where we'll be 100 or 1,000 years from now on that. But the 3 sectors that we're really seeing a lot of growth in are cybersecurity. The more technology and the more openness we have, the more danger there is, and the more protection you need. We're seeing data science, which is really what's driving artificial intelligence and machine learning. So the ability to process data and the technology that processes it. So what's behind the fact that that technology can learn over iterations, and that's data science. And then the third piece is something called product development. So that is building products from technology, not just technology that's a service, but technology that we can use to actually accomplish a goal, and is either an app or something we do and a functionality we have day in and day out.
One of the things that people always talk about is the flexibility of working remote and all the things. So I came here, I used to work at AccuWeather. The idea of remote working was ridiculous. That they didn't think that they could trust someone out on the West Coast. So we would leave on Sunday night, fly to the West Coast, do our thing, and come back. COVID changed all of that. From a technology standpoint, where are we now? Like, what are the streets saying, and what are going to be some of the gains that you think will happen that'll be big for us coming out of COVID, say 5 years from now?
Yeah, well, I think COVID created a paradigm shift that was had been kind of seeping in little by little. There had been hybrid work environments beforehand, but I don't think it was as universally accepted or universally accepted by businesses of all sizes. So I think COVID's created a little bit of a mind shift regardless of the technology. And I think what we're seeing is that technology can help us overcome challenges or situations like that. If you can't be in a room with somebody, or you need to take a call, or you need to get a lot of people in a room from all over the world, technology can certainly help you. But I don't think technology necessarily replaces the rapport and the relationship building that can happen one-on-one in person. So I think we're always going to be in a world where technology is integrated, but at the end of the day, one-on-one communication and relationships, I think, are always going to be paramount.
So for a young person going into the IT world,
Yeah.
what would be an opportunistic place to go to make hay? So you'd already said cybersecurity is one.
Yeah. You know, the funny thing about technology is the jobs that our kids will take on, 15, 20 years from now probably don't exist yet. So that's the
crazy part.
Yeah. I mean, I remember growing up, we were doing word processing and trying to figure out how fast we could type and learning that type of thing. And maybe doing a little bit of computing and stuff like that. But now, we didn't have app development. We didn't have a big cybersecurity presence. Data science, data was statistics. That was a math discipline. So, hard to say. I think the most important thing to know if you're somebody growing up right now is find something you're passionate about. If you're passionate about technology, is it gaming? Is it 3D stuff? Is it animation? Whatever it is, just dive in, and then naturally tech is going to evolve with you over time.
One of the great parts about having your own radio show is you get to talk to the experts. So a couple of years back, Vida Williams came to the program.
Yeah. Hey, Vida.
And she started talking about, and I told her you're my favorite data scientist. Well, she's the only one I'd ever met.
Well, yeah.
She was the only one, and she started talking about, science and data science and also tracking people.
Yeah.
And this was pre-COVID.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, I thought of the whole Big Brother concept of being watched.
Yep.
Fast forward some years, I talked to her. What we had talked about at that point, when you went somewhere post-COVID or during COVID, you checked in.
Yep.
So that you were able to map where people were and you came into contact with. So the idea of it was 2019 or so when we're talking, 2018, that's crazy talk. 2020, 21, it's a reality.
Yep. Sure.
And we understood. A lot of times science and data is forward thinking and it doesn't work until it has to work.
Yeah.
And here we are today. We don't think anything of letting people know who went to an event. So if there was a breakout, we can track them. That's all data science.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And, you kind of started off the conversation with kind of the bad side of data science in terms of the Big Brother element, but really, you got to take the good with the bad because so much of what data is tracking and telling us helps us on a daily basis.
That is true.
How far is the nearest Applebee's? It's around the corner here.
Back in the day, if I said to you, hey, how do I get to your house? Whether you lived in the country or the city, you go here, you make a left at the gas station.
The number of gas stations
you see that now all of a sudden, you don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Your kids don't even think of the idea of stopping to ask where that place is. So every question ever known to man is right in our pocket.
Yep, and the accessibility of all of us to one another. So I can reach my kids at any given time.
Which wasn't always the case.
Wasn't always the case. So, again, you got to take the good with the bad, but, part A of that is, well, what are you trying to hide? What are you really doing that you don't want people to know? The second thing is behavior. People are posting on Facebook and putting all kinds of social media out there. So in a way, you're voluntarily kind of putting out some data. And again, at the end of the day, I think we're all living better lives today than we were 10 years ago because of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and data.
So this is a business show.
Yep.
When you see businesses making certain mistakes, and you have an idea from a business standpoint, what do you see and notice now that businesses should not be doing, or they're kind of handicapping themselves?
Yeah, I think there's a concept in the startup world called the lean startup, meaning you create a minimum viable product and you iterate over time and you see what works and you go back and change what doesn't and you iterate again. And the businesses that I see that don't work well are the ones that go all in on an idea with all their capital, all their people, all their resources before anything's tested. And like anything in this world, whether you're trying to get better at a sport or just trying to grow up or trying to go up the ladder at your corporation, you've got to take it one day at a time. And if you jump too far ahead too fast, you're spending all your resources and you may jump the shark on the technology. You may be 10 years ahead of your time, which we could all look back, look at things like, I don't know, maybe the Segway, for instance, a little bit ahead of its time maybe. There's a variety of technology that's been out there 20, 30 years ago that just was ahead of its time and thus crashed.
Back in the day, we wondered whether VHS or beta was going to work. We kind of figured that one out.
We figured that one. It all figures its way out.
I remember in the 90s when Blackberries came out.
Yep.
I had one.
Oh.
That, you know, there's certain things.
I love that little touchpad.
Everybody did.
I like the click.
Okay, sir,
Yep.
you're an expert. What happened to the folks at BlackBerry?
Yeah, you know, I don't. That's
That's it.
I don't know that I'm qualified for that, but I'll tell you what. I think once we all moved over to the iPhones and realized how the interface was actually better once we got used to it and we got integrated into it, you know, the BlackBerry became obsolete. It just didn't have the interface and the user experience that the iPhone did. So. You know, you're just, again, with the iPhone, you're seeing more, you're in it more, it's more natural, and I think we didn't anticipate that when it first came out.
So clearly you are an iPhone person.
I'm an iPhone person, but,
Is yours an iPhone house?
Sure I am.
You look like an iPhone person.
What? I don't even know what that means.
Now, you know, sometimes stereotyping is
I feel
viable.
stereotyped.
You
Yep.
should, because you look like an iPhone. And you know, the iPhone people, they had the look when you, one time I needed a plug. And I said, hey, you ever plug? The person handed me a plug, and I looked at it, and they said to me, oh, you have an Android. Sorry. You know, it's, so the one thing I try to explain to your folk that, that most of the people in the world do not have iPhones. But you guys are more passionate about it. And then when you see some of the products that they, like you can always tell the iPhone person when they're taking the pictures.
Yeah.
Even the Android folks know, like, we're going to take a picture. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Who has an iPhone?
Yeah.
Because that is known. One, let's talk about when a product hits and people just love it. And two, when the technology is better, too.
Yeah. Let's see. Technology, let's talk about Slack. Do you know Slack by any chance? It's a communication tool.
Yes,
So what's interesting about Slack is it's essentially direct messaging or text messaging for your teams, and it's helping to organize it and make it simple. What Slack does really well is just help you communicate better. What it doesn't do is include a million other features that you don't need. And so what I look for in a product is, can you accomplish what I really need out of that one product? I don't need all of my products to do everything. I don't need it to make toast. I don't need it to brew coffee. I don't need it to refrigerate something. I just need it to help me communicate with my teammates. And then sometimes I think there are products out there that go that extra mile that try to do everything for everyone, and that's where things get lost.
One of the things, so I guess in technology back in the day when I was selling it, you kind of call it scope creep.
Yep.
And you try not to do it.
Yep.
But the money says
growth, growth, growth.
Yes.
Yep.
Can you do this? And next thing you know. So let's circle back to that technology, you know, with the iPhone users. You can tell that's kind of like a spot with me.
Oh yeah. Tell me more.
You can tell exactly. So there is a certain because iPhone users are you know it's the kind of it's a product that's really cool.
Yeah.
And it has been like that. But now the technology part of it, it's not like it's a cool product and the technology isn't there.
Sure.
The technology, so it's cool to have it, and then the technology is there. But it's like you guys are handicapped. Like my grandson needed and he wanted an iPhone in the worst way, so he got a 12.
Yep.
And the 14s are out now.
Yep.
When you guys get the new one, you guys are just walking around like you're it.
Oh yeah.
And it's just a matter of time before iPhone does it to you again, and the new one comes out, and now you guys are standing looking like us.
Oh yeah, you're not wrong. And the funny thing is, we all put them in a case anyway. You can't tell which phone somebody else has. So you're absolutely right. But I'll tell you what, my 76-year-old dad got a non-iPhone recently, and I had no idea what to do with it. So I think it's a comfort, it's a familiarity. It's just you know what you know and you like what you like, and you know you want to put something new out there. And oh my gosh, what am I going to do with this?
You know it's true because when my grandkids hand me the iPad or their iPhones, I'm looking at it like, how do you make this thing work? Besides the i products, what are some of the technology products that you see out there? You love the branding, marketing of it, as well as the functionality.
Oh gosh, that's a really good question. Because Gosh, branding and marketing that I really love. God.
Okay, here's one.
Yeah.
Who knew outside of folks, who were into the world about Zoom prior to?
Yeah. Zoom's a great one. You know, prior to Zoom, we had Cisco WebEx, we had
Yeah.
Google Meet, we had Microsoft Teams. I think was still was coming up the ranks there. And you're right, something about Zoom took off when COVID hit. And sure, maybe it was the product, and maybe it was the the interface being better. It had features that were just built for that COVID period. But also, it's just Zoom. It's not based on the branding. Isn't tied to a company per se.
Like Teams.
It's got a funny name.
It was
Yeah.
really easy to use.
Really easy to use, and to this day, it's almost like Zoom has become like Google in terms of a verb. Like, let's Zoom. Let's go. Let's get
Right.
on a
We
Zoom.
don't think about it. Right.
We don't think about it. Yeah. And if you send me something that's a non-Zoom, 75% of the people will be like, what is this? Do I need to download
Yeah.
something?
People send
Yeah.
me stuff with the Teams. I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, come on, really? What do I have to do? Now you feel bad because you are in that world to make it work, because Zoom made life
Yeah.
so easy. I had some lawyers on, and I said to them, what did COVID do for you guys? They said before, when we had to do depositions,
Mm-hmm.
everyone had to fly in.
Yeah.
Maybe if we did a WebEx, we had to go get a team, making sure everything is perfect.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden we realize we don't need to be in the same room anymore.
Yeah.
And Zoom made it really easy.
Yep. It was just the product that worked for that particular moment in time and a moment in history, and I think because of that, now it's carried some goodwill and equity beyond. But that's not to say that the other products can't provide that same service equally as well. But I do think there's a little bit of branding there for sure.
Alrighty, so you guys have the event that's coming up, and
Heck
even
yeah.
when this airs after that, let's talk
Yeah.
about the things that you guys have going
Yeah,
on
let's do that.
during the year, because you guys will always have your hand in some really.
Tons of stuff. Yeah, we have 7 conferences throughout the year. We start the year off next February with a cybersecurity conference. I mentioned how every company is a cyber company these days. We go to a data summit next, so data science. Again, that's all your artificial intelligence, your machine learning, data science, analytics. After that, we go to a digital conference, which is about the tech and the science behind the marketing.
Oh.
So SEO, influencer marketing, all the analytics that happens behind that. After that, we go to Product Fest, which is about product design. It's app development, website development, UI, UX, that type of stuff. Then we come back to the fall with our Women in Tech conference. We have a JavaScript conference, which is software engineering. And we end out the year with something called EDGE, which is emerging technologies, mainstream technologies, and predictive technologies. What's next for all of us?
What was that River Rock?
River Rock? That's a Dominion. Wasn't it a Dominion?
Technology something or other? Or it had something to do with music as well.
Yeah, it was like music, and wasn't there a triathlon or something associated with it? Or I'm not
I
sure.
don't know.
It was not us.
It was not you.
No, sir.
Alrighty, so once again, how can people find you out there?
Yeah, check us out, rvatech.com. I mentioned we got 7 conferences, but a whole bunch of other things, from happy hours to breakfast to golf tournaments to cornhole tournaments. If you're in this community or you want to be in this community, please check us out and come to something.
All right, on the mic, Mike, like I said, we bring you the best and the brightest. I'd like to thank you for coming on the program. And we're gonna come out to the event. Shout out to our good friend Carrie Roth here. See Carrie?
Hey, Carrie.
Yes. I did it. I made it. All right, so we got to run. Make sure you check out our sponsors and advertisers who keep us on here. And like I say, shout out to Synergy Technical, Road Meet, and the crew over there. Big friends of the program. Always say the microphone ain't free, plus my grandkids need stuff. So make sure you check them out and support them. Thanks. Now, take care.
Recording stopped.
Katina Moss. Hey, Katina Moss, thanks. Dr. Ruffin, thanks. I appreciate it. I got to stop over there.